even some of the, mental illnesses that are out there as well. Like, there's people that have such skill but have schizophrenia and things like that, and do incredible things as well. I know, some of the people in history that have had some of these mental illnesses that have created or innovated, things that have happened to our world that have been significantly changing. So, there's certain aspects of that. What about the creative side for people?
Oh, of course. It's about leveraging people's strengths. And okay, if they've got mental illness, again, that's unfortunate. There's a number of things that people can do in 2021. There's a number of things that they can't. But it's about, again, leveraging the strengths. But everybody has a choice. David, just to be clear, and sorry to be picking on you, but just to be clear that, yes, there are some things that they have no choice over, and I accept that. But there is a lot that they do have a choice over, and it's about what they do with that and whether they choose to accept their situation and say, but what else can I do? How else can I make an impact on the world? How can I add value in my community, et cetera, et cetera? How can I be an inspiration to other, young people coming through, so on and so forth? And there are those who will sit and wallow in their own self-pity. And as I said, they may be disabled, but they may be able-bodied as well.
Tony Gallagher says, Tony, you have consistently grown your workshop, which is really good. Peter says, always giving so much, hence the workload, Tony. So well done. Good
Thank you.
There.
Thank you.
Tony Gallagher says, David, I have a mate I met in 1992, an incomplete quad in the quadriplegic in the wheelchair, and he is now a third-party lawyer and has chosen to study, and it's really challenging for him as well. So incredible. David says, all good, thanks for the encouragement. So maybe hearing some of those stories, David, might help you in thinking about things a little bit differently. And that's what we do on this mindset session. So good, David, that you have the vulnerability to share some of your thoughts. Hopefully you're taking them in to understand where we're coming from, and maybe think a little bit differently to say, are those words serving me or helping me? And are those words actually reflective of actually what's going on out there?
Oh, I just want to acknowledge, you said it, vulnerability. I just want to acknowledge David for having the vulnerability to put his comments in. A lot of people do not do that. And so I want to say thank you for doing that, because it enables us to have good conversation. Luke and I could rattle on for days if you let us, but it enables us to have good conversation, good input from the audience. So please, David, take all that as, and that's our opinion. You don't have to agree with what we're saying, but take all that as our view as an opportunity for learning for you, and certainly keep the comments coming.
Yeah, talking about learning, let's get into it's 21 minutes in. We'll get into the couple of key points.
Oh, are we not on topic? Oh, God.
We're always on topic, mate. Just tell them the stories first, Tony, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Create insight for people and really, sink into those emotions around actually what people go through.
Yes.
So we reflected on a real estate agent up in Queensland who did go through some hard times early on, got put down many times by his boss. No one went to the award ceremony with him. No one felt that they could help, really reflect on and show him, all the encouragement in his success. But, he tuned out a couple of years before he actually left. And it was just like, tick the boxes until I'm leaving, and finally got to the point of leaving. So he had a tough challenge, and that's what we're talking about today. Tough challenges that you have. People think about as a first item that we talk about here is, what is the fear of it? Is it a fear around failure, or is it a fear around success, Tony?
Well, if we use let's keep going with this whole leaving the job piece. I believe it's a fear of uncertainty. So that's the big one there. It's the fear of being criticised. It's the fear of, I know when I mentioned to my loved ones that I was going to leave my job, it wasn't met with open arms, because it's different. I've got a university education. It's like, well, you've got a good paying job, blah, 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 blah. You know, all these things that traditionally people think about, but it was different. And so that wasn't met, positively. And so there's that fear of being criticised by the people. Now, a lot of people may have said, oh, no, you're right, sat back down and just stayed in a job feeling incredibly unfulfilled and unhappy. But it's also a fear of the uncertainty, because you leave the certainty of knowing that I have an income coming in regularly, and then now I no longer do. Interestingly, COVID has taught us in 2020 around the fact that things aren't as certain as what we first thought. So here we are, prior to 2020, thinking about certainty, sitting there a bit fat and happy in our jobs. We're all good, thanks. COVID came along, and a lot of people got an incredibly rude awakening. And so, I believe on the back of COVID, not everybody, but there's certainly been an increase in people wanting to take the control of their own future in their hands, as opposed to sitting there, under the certainty of salary and employment.
How many times have we talked about uncertainty, and almost like, I talk about embracing uncertainty. Like it's changing.
Well, so there's only two things that we talk about as being certain, and there's a third that I throw in. So there's death and taxes. That's certain. The other certainty that I throw in is that if you do nothing about it, I guarantee you won't achieve anything, right? So that's certain. When you do something, when you set about wanting to chase a goal, to chip away, whether it be in health and wellness, financial, business, property, doesn't really matter. There's not certainty. You don't have a certain outcome. You can do research. You can, take some guesses. You can mitigate your risk, but there's absolutely no certainty. And so a lot of people are paralysed by the fact that it's not certain. Now, that's perfectionistic thinking, whereas I mitigate as many risks as I can, but I still know that I have to put my left foot in front of my right in order to take myself closer to my goal. Here's one of the other things around certainty, and you and I had this conversation many, many years ago. Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, about 90 years old. It's an amazing book. If you haven't read it, please go and do it. But in there, he talks about the concept of 3 feet from gold. I touched on it briefly the other week at my session. So what 3 feet from gold means is that if you think back 90 years, you're a miner. That is, you've got your hard hat on, you pick, and you're digging for gold, dig, and you've got 3 feet away from your goal. Now, you don't know that you're 3 feet away from your goal, because if you knew that your gold, after digging, say, 97 feet, if your gold was only 3 feet away and you were certain that it was there, you'd keep digging, right? You would keep digging. You wouldn't stop. You'd get it on your knees with your hands if you had to, right? You would do it because you're certain. The thing in life is that we aren't certain that our goal is just 3 feet away, and the majority of people will finish their lives being just short of achieving their goal because they gave up, because they didn't have faith, they didn't have belief, they didn't have all the ingredients that we talk about here on Sunday Mindset Session, and they stopped just short. But they never knew how close they were, and unfortunately, they'll finish their life being 3 feet from goal.
That you have not only within yourself about you're not sure about how things are going to work and if they're going to be a success or not. It's just getting that bombardment from other people to say that's not going to work, that's never going to work. A great example, Lisa Novak come on just now and says, "Good morning, gents." She's a prime example. She went in to do a whole lot of social media posting and videos around putting yourself out there and saying about sales of properties and things like that. And, a lot of people knock that earlier on, and it's never going to work, or, everything's on realestate.com.au or domain.com.au. But she went in there, got focused, and as a result is doing exceptionally well in using Facebook as a great tool to sell properties in the Northern Beaches. So absolutely. She also says Calcutta Diamonds, it's all under our nose. Just go get it. Absolutely. And she's sharing the love hearts on that story. So prime example of not getting bombarded or, by all the judgments and not taking them on board and actually going forward with your own thing. And keep on going. The success will come.
Well, it's the biggest fear that we have. So I believe the biggest fear that we have is not the fear of failure, it's the fear of being criticised by others. And because we're a herd mentality, we like to be connected, we like to be around people that support us and help us. And, and so to be criticised by those people, a lot of us will sit back down and say, actually, you're right. You're right. I shouldn't go and leave my job. I shouldn't go and chase my dream, whatever my dream is. You're right. And what is happening there is that those people are putting their insecurities onto you, but you're taking that on board as being criticism, and you don't want to be put on the outer. And so it's about working your way through that fear of being criticised by other people. Now, if you want to do an exercise to work through your fear of being criticised by other people, give up drinking. Give up drinking for a week. Give up drinking for a month, because that will help build an enormous amount of resilience, because the Australian culture is absolutely fascinating. Now, I gave up drinking some 4.5 years ago, right? So I've gone through this and out the other side. But the point is that when you give up drinking for a month, see what happens. That's going to test your resolve, your resilience to handle being criticised by other people.
Lisa says, don't listen to the noise. I've got a couple of things on that. Don't listen to the noise from the outside. Don't listen to maybe some of the negative noise on the inside as well. So watch out for those things. Just even some of the influence that comes out, or you don't have all the likes or comments on an initial social media post. I don't know what Lisa went through on the early days, but you can get some of that internal noise. Is it working? Is it right? Do I need to change it up? Do I need to, flick it to another different strategy? So I'd love to hear from Lisa, if she's still on, to say in those early days, was it something that you were thinking that you're going to just push forward, or is it something that you kind of struggle with a little bit? So that can happen on the early days of trying something new, Tony.
Yeah, but some of the questions that you asked are good questions in regards to what can I do differently, And so the thing with social media, let's talk about social media, given that you've raised it, is that we put a lot of emphasis on whether someone likes, comments, etc., our posts, and obviously that's how the algorithms are working. But here's the thing. What we're doing is we're putting our whole emotional well-being in the hands of other people. You're wanting to be happy or sad based on whether someone else beyond your control is liking or commenting on something that you're doing. Now, for me, the approach is that you do a process. Your process is that I do this certain thing each and every day, or once a week, or whatever your social media strategy is. And if it doesn't generate likes and comments, etc., then the opportunity is to ask yourself, resourcefulness is, what can I do different? What can I learn from that? What worked? What didn't work? What bits can I change? And that's the whole idea of growth and learning. Does everything that I do turn to gold from day one? Of course not. Absolutely not. In fact, nothing does, right? But it's about having the persistence and the desire to keep going. But I'm also in check of my own emotion to know that I don't want to hang it out there and have that link to what someone else does, because that's when people can get incredibly broken, versus your emotion based on, am I doing the things that I committed to doing? Am I doing my process of doing X number of posts or X number of lives or whatever it might be? If I'm doing that, that's awesome. That's awesome. And constantly challenge yourself to improve, to learn, to refine, to adapt, to adjust. The word of 2020, to pivot, whatever it might be. Right, it's constantly about doing that.
I just wonder if it's sometimes where people, go into something, quit straight away, go into something else, quit straight away, go into something, and whether they actually can see and believe within themselves that that's a strategy that works, then maybe actually just fine tune that.
Sure.
Strategy. That's probably where you're coming from there, Tony.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not saying do something once and throw your hands in the air and say this doesn't work. And can I say that a whole lot of people that I meet are doing that, right? And a whole lot of people, they'll try it once, and it's a classic. So I train people to secure properties direct from vendors. And one of the things that we talk about is getting people to write letters to the vendors. And people will say, well, I wrote one letter once, and Tony, that strategy's crap. Now, I can give you an example where one of my students, he wrote 6 letters over a period of 12 months, and on the 6th letter, secured the property. Could have easily...
Consistent action.
Action. Kappa. Hey, Kappa.
Lisa says, everyone struggles with the negativity from other people. I knew that what I was doing was needed to help people. And by getting directly using this tool of Facebook to sell property has meant that people can get it on their phones in a quick amount of time and actually see what's happening in the marketplace. Tony, what about the whole aspect of, are you going towards or away from the challenge? So we are faced with those challenges, whether that's from our boss, from the market, if you're an entrepreneur, different things socially, economically, different things will happen. So all about for us individually, are we facing that, going forward into that challenge, or are we backing away from it?
To me, it's bigger than that, and it's bigger than that in the sense of, are you clear on what your goal is? Because when you're clear on what your goal is and when you're connected to your goal, and we talked the other week around the commitment versus interest, there's a commitment to a goal or there's an interest in a goal. A lot of people, let's talk property, a lot of people are interested in property. They see someone have some success, Forbes top 10 rich list, whatever it might be. It's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind getting into property. No, it takes commitment. Right? And you talked before about real estate agents, the cream always rises to the top. Those people are committed. In sports, commitment, et cetera, et cetera. So firstly, get clear on what your goal is and then get committed towards working in that direction. That way, then when you have challenges, and the challenges are inevitable, the challenges, in fact, will be frequent. It's the universe testing out whether you're serious or not, is whether or not you decide to go through that challenge or whether you stop. Because the thing on the other side of the challenge needs to be so big that this challenge is actually reduced in size, because you've got to get to the other side. You've got to get to the thing that you're chasing, which is your goal.
Lisa says the social media aspect wasn't about me, it was about them. The people in our industry didn't offer a $0 marketing strategy. I enabled this through social media. Absolutely. So that was about the consumer wanting something. Also, I guess another aspect of it, Lisa, is around the whole thing of having immediacy in having properties to view, and not having to go to a portal that would that you have to type in different things. You can go one place to find all the properties in that area, or get it on your feed on Facebook, and that would come if you were spending time and attention on it, it would come up in your feed all the time. So a lot easier and more efficient for someone who's a buyer to see all these properties come up all the time. So that's where I believe realestate.com.au don't have the efficiency of having that and being able to target people in that area through their portal, like a Facebook at the moment. So maybe that's where they're lacking a little.
Okay. Good. Yeah, no, I think it's all around creating awareness. That's what this is. What do? This is our 101st episode of doing this. It's around creating awareness around what it is that we do. Now, whether people choose to work with us or not is entirely up to them. That's beyond my control. What's in my control is that I front up every day, that I give every Sunday, I give myself, front up every day, but in this regard, I front up every Sunday. I give of myself for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever we can spare, and I give as much information, as much value as I can to those who've chosen to listen to us. People who are listening to us, firstly, thank you. But secondly, a lot of people, you've got choices, right? There's plenty of other things you could be doing on a Sunday morning. So we're eternally grateful that you've decided to spend that with us.
Lisa says, thanks, gents. And finally, Tony, are you embracing the challenges, as they will always be coming?
They are always there. They are always there. Always. And it's about having a growth mindset. And again, so I describe this as gates. I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I describe it as gates. And so you've got a goal that's down here, and in between, and you're here, in between your goal and you is a series of gates.
There's a jumping out the gate thing, wasn't it?
Well, you've got, so every time you come to a challenge, the gate's locked. And so you've got to decide, do I go through the gate, over the gate, around the gate, under the gate, whatever. I've got to get through the gate. I've got to get on the other side of the gate. That now is that challenge. But then here's what happens when I open that gate, go to the next, there's another gate and another gate and another gate, and they're challenges. And here's the thing, if you leave the gate closed, it's locked, it beats you, then your goal was never that important. Your goal was never that important to you in the first place, and you have to challenge yourself on that. Whereas when your goal is important to you, when you're committed to achieving your goal, well, now I've got to get through this thing. I've got to get through it. I've got to get over it. I've got to get under it. I've got to do whatever I damn well can, because my goal is on the other side of this damn gate. And I've got to keep going and keep going and keep going. And it's the whole tenacity and persistence and perseverance. And we could throw out all the words, but it's about got to keep going. So the challenges are going to come. They are going to come. Accept that the challenges are going to come. And I just touched on it earlier. I personally believe it's the universe sitting there saying, are you fair income or not? Because if you're fair income, I'm going to give you a whole lot of challenges and let's see what's going on. If you're not fair income, you're going to stop at the first hurdle and you're going to go back to doing something else.
Well, hopefully our international viewers understand what you're talking about when you're saying about fair income. Peter says, always plenty of values. Thanks, boys. So today we're talking about those tough challenges that you will have in life, that you are having. A whole bunch of property stories around that. We're associated with property, both Tony and myself. So using those analogies, hopefully, and many other people that are on here are property people as well. But hopefully those analogies bring it back to whatever you're doing in your life, you know, whether you are an employee, whether you're a business owner, whether you're in or out of the property industry, it doesn't really matter. This all goes back to, we are going to experience these tough challenges. What are you going to do about it, really?
Look, exactly. Look, what I teach people, whether I do it in a property forum, whether I do it in a small business forum or a life forum, it's all, 90% of it's all the same stuff. And it's about, you think about whether it be in regards to health and wellness or your business or your career or your relationship. It's about have a goal, have a plan, work towards it, except it's not always going to go the way that you want it to. Have the desire, the commitment to keep wanting to get through that so that you can get to the other side. Constantly challenge yourself on, how do I improve? If something doesn't work, then what can I do differently next time? How do I make it work? How do I ensure a different outcome? As opposed to, well, I can't do that. That's not for me. I can't find any of those. And again, it's the mindset. That's why we do what we do on a Sunday morning.
Great session today, Tony. Hopefully everyone is out there facing their tough challenges and really getting through the gate, each and every gate in that process, like you explained there earlier. Everyone, have a great Sunday. Hopefully enjoyed this Sunday mindset session, and you know what will happen next Sunday. We'll be back again for more consistent and persistent
consistency.
Action.
Kappa.
Out of control.
That was funny. Oh my gosh, it's got incredibly cold all of a sudden. I'm just going back,
Hey,
back to my
live, Tony.
Hey? Oh, we live. Oh my gosh.